Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the YANA You Are Not Alone Pro-Am Invitational out on Zwift. I know we've got a lot of new viewers out there today of what Zwift is. And if you're unfamiliar with Zwift, this is a massive multiplayer online game in which real people are actually pedaling real bikes or running in order to compete or just get in shape in group rides, as well as just travel around in the world while they exercise at home from their own pain caves, their own setups at home. I got next to me Dave Toll. He's coming out of Colorado, longtime commentator in the world of cycling. And I'm Nathan Guerra here at Zwift Community Live Studios. Dave, we've got a stacked field in the men's and the women's race for this Pro-Am Invitational today. Big names from esports as well as in real life cycling.
Yeah, that's what we've had, Nathan, here, this cross-pollination of those two worlds out here. Well, we did a race last night, the Redlands Classic, that was dynamite. I mean, it was unbelievable, the action that we saw. Expect more of that today. Nathan, you're the guru here. Really, you can talk everyone through the analytics and the data and what's going on. But basically, this is a bike race, ladies and gentlemen. The strongest rider will win. We've got national champions with us. We have athletes, some World Tour pros. So in the sport of professional cycling, the World Tour is the major league. It's the highest level. We have athletes that compete in that arena, as well as you mentioned, Nathan, esports is its own thing. Zwift has a very unique platform here. This is the coolest game I've ever seen. It's an ultra endurance slugfest.
100%. We do have the men getting out on course. They are out in London today. They will be completing 36 kilometers out on the Keith Hill after party, which means that it's going to be a flat course up front through a lot of the flatter roads in the lower city of London. And then they head out to the countryside into Surrey Hills, and they're going to be taking on the Keith Hill after party, which is a beast of a climb. It's not a mountain, but it's getting climbing. They're climbing for a solid 7 minutes or so on the KOM, and it's a KOM finish. So it's everything you got to the top, essentially, to try and take the win. The boys are jumping out on course. The women are about to start about 5 minutes after them. Let's go ahead and get into some of the racing action right away. And it does look like we're on board with Vitus Pro Cycling, actually. This is an in-real-life team that's jumped into the race out here today. And Vitus is hammering, it looks like, here with Mazzone. Tom Mazzone here. This was a rider it's a Pro Conti team, actually, that we need to be watching out for. They have been dominating. A lot of times this game has favored a little bit those who have been playing it longer, which would be the esports teams, the teams that have come up through the playing of this game specifically. But recently, Vitus has been showing themselves to be one of the in real life teams that have jumped in, crossed over, and really given these esports teams a run for their money.
They have a rider, Christopher McGlinchey. He's Irish and is absolutely one of the top three favorites coming in. Nathan, I made a hit list here of riders to watch. Christopher McGlinchey is certainly one of them. He's on that Vitus team that you're talking about. If you were to put that in the parlance of baseball, I was mentioning World Tour, that's Major League. Well, Vitus would be a triple-A team. Some of the riders that will be working their way up the ladder. Lionel Viasen is with us. I saw his name pop up a moment ago. I would have to say, Nathan, he's one of the most respected and dominant esports racers that we've seen. He's out of Belgium, which is one of the countries in the world that embraces cycling like no other. And then the German rider on the Alpecin Katusha team, Philipp Walseben, is with us, Nathan. I saw his name on the start list, and it certainly raised some eyebrows. There's Brian Hodges, the American. We've got James Hodges, the British rider, in this field as well. Nathan, the men out rolling here. This course, if you'd like to see it yourself, you can go to zwiftpower.com. It's a very interesting profile, Nathan. It's almost completely flat until it just turns into a wall for the last couple of K there. So you don't see many races quite like this. They're 1.3 miles in for the men. The women will be starting here in another couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll get in with the women here in just a minute, and as soon as we do, we'll bring them up on course onto the screen. There is some pretty amazing talent in that race as well. As the men do fly along on this course, the section that they're going through here does roll along the river here for a moment. There'll be a right-hand turn. The first little puncher out on course is going to be confronting them in the next K or so, and that'll be a right-hand turn to a 6 or 7% gradient. We could see a breakaway attempt. Now, a much smaller field because of the Pro-Am Invitational situation. A lot of times out on Zwift, we do see hundreds and hundreds of riders in some of the bigger races. With only 48, Dave, I think this gives a little bit of an opportunity for riders to maybe break away a little bit more, having not quite as many bodies to chase things down and keep those speeds high like you would see in traditional cycling.
That's an excellent point. It changes the dynamic out here. Nathan, this world, so Zwift has multiple worlds. The world championships in cycling are a big, big deal. It's almost like our Olympics that happen every year. And so you'll see the Richmond World's Course, the Innsbruck World's Course. This, however, would be part of the London World that was all about the 2012 London Olympiad. So, Nathan, going back to what you were talking about, however, the larger the field, the dynamic of a breakaway staying away becomes dramatically less. So this should make for some wide open racing. Do you anticipate a rider that would attack, trying to build up a buffer to get to the bottom of the climb with a few seconds in hand? I don't know that all of that effort would be worth it, to tell you the truth, because again, there's some real monsters in this group right now. When they're working together, there's really no one man or woman that could hold them off. Nathan, as the women are just about to get rolling here, I did want to mention it's very cool to see that Israel's national champion is jumping with us, Omer Shapira. She was on the podium at the Colorado Classic that we enjoyed last August here in the United States. Krista Doble-Hickok and Heidi Franz of the rally team are in the field, and the Canadian Marie Soleil Blaise, who has ridden for Astana in her career. But there I see Charlotte Backus. Charlotte, a young up-and-coming American. Nathan, she's a real talent, has been working very, very hard. Spoke about her the other day. One of the people that it does a heart good as we talk about YANA and no one being left alone. Well, Charlotte's the kind of person that helps build the community. We had a chance to talk with her. It was very nice to get some messages from some of our riders. I look forward to hearing that. She's been basing herself. She's a Colorado person, but basing herself in Utah, Park City, Utah lately. Not a bad place to hang out. There's
let's
Krista
go ahead.
Doble-Hickok.
We're looking at Charlotte Backus here on screen right now. She's putting out 154 beats per minute, 211. She's been very strong in these recent, Team Turbo, always about the sprint. We'll see what they can do in the climbs. That'll be an interesting thing to see. But we did catch up with Charlotte, as we do see an attack here, a little bit here there from Luis Hubach from Team Heino. Let's go ahead and see how Charlotte, though, has been taking on the social distancing and the whole theme of YANA as she's been doing Zwifting as well.
I'm Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Matthew. This is my home. We have set up a Zwift pain cave down here in our basement. You see both our bikes and other bike parts. We're taking this time to ride solo or ride down in our Zwift cave and keeping our family safe.
And I've created Monday and Friday group rides and workouts on Zwift to better connect with the community. I stick it down here and create workouts, and I love the Zwift community because we're able to connect worldwide, which is great because I love riding with people all around the world. And we just want to say, stay safe out there, guys.
And happy Zwifting.
Thanks.
Great to get that in real life perspective, Dave, as always. And we do have some attacks here now in the women's race as her teammate, Helen McKay, now is going out the front from Team Turbo. Look like Cecilia Hansen, Louise Hubach there from the Heino team are hammering toward the front as well to try and shut things down. Some breaks happening. So early on in this race here, not waiting for Keith Hill, it looks like Turbo is turning up the heat and some nitrous oxide being thrown down now as Team USA makes their way to the front there as well.
Yeah, one of the things about this format, Nathan, for people watching for the first time, it's very aggressive racing. They go out incredibly hard. There's really nothing quite like the first 5 minutes of these races. We're joining Heidi Franz right now. Heidi lives in Washington State, the evergreen state here in North America. She has really come on strong over the last couple of years as a pro, getting some international experience in her legs, and is one of those riders that's trending to the top. Without any doubt, Nathan, Heidi Franz will be a big part of the U.S. Olympic and World Championship programs going through the next decade if she chooses to continue racing at this level. She's a really talented rider. She comes from the land of Kiel Reinen and Joe Holmes. There's a really good scene up in Washington, and that's the kind of state where you would want to get into Zwift as well. This platform, so again, it's so cool. Leah Thorvaldsen, she was the first ever Zwift Academy winner. She, using this platform, joined thousands of other women to compete, and ultimately they whittled it down to one rider receiving a slot on. Basically, she rode her way on to the New York Yankees. In this case, it would be the Canyon SRAM team. She's now moved on. That was about 4 years ago, but other riders, Ella Harris also has done.
She's actually now managing the Turbo team there, Dave. She's actually the team manager now for Team Turbo, which is pretty awesome to see that she's taking the reins up and kind of like from going from Zwift Academy winner, turn pro, and then takes that veteran experience to now fully manage and mentor this women's team and the Turbo team on the women's side of things. Pretty awesome to see Leah taking her experience and pushing it back into the community.
Yeah, that's what you call a cornerstone in your community, Nathan. That's Turbo, the team that Charlotte Backus, who we saw a little bit earlier, rides for. Olivia Barrel there. She's a very strong rider, the Canadian. I mentioned earlier that we had Maurice Soleil-Blaise with us. We have Lauren Stevens in here, Nathan. We are more than familiar with the talent that is the Dallas, Texas-based rider who rides with the Tibco Silicon Valley Bank team. She's, without any doubt, in the hierarchy of American racing right now, Nathan, she is one of the 5 most important active American racers that we have as we look forward to international competitions like Tokyo and World Championships coming up in Switzerland. So as you look at this group again, right now, the men started a little earlier than the women, 5 minutes earlier. So they're going to be up the road a little bit as we make our way on what we love this course. It's a stunner. The sting is in the tail, Nathan, like a scorpion on this one.
Yeah, we do see Albus and Phoenix making a little bit of move here. Ditier now out of Belgium, 5.1 watts per kilogram coming from him. And those pro jerseys on the right-hand side of the screen, for those of you that are unfamiliar with Zwift, those are showing who... there's a verified check mark, just like you would see on any social media platform. This is a verified individual, so nobody's able to copy their name in game and then misrepresent them. But then there's the pro jersey, which represents UCI World Tour, essentially the highest level in racing in real life. And that's what those pro jerseys represent. And those would be the riders that are coming in to compete up against the community teams that have kind of established themselves as these pro teams in the world of Zwift esports. So we do have Albus and Phoenix here jumping in today in the men's race. Good to have them on board here with us. And a lot of Belgian flags there, it looks like, with that representation.
Nathan, because of COVID-19, we had a very unique situation that occurred. And one of the things, and I'd love your opinion on this, but I think it's been really gracious the way all of the in real life pro riders that have kind of morphed over to racing on Zwift. The esports riders have been doing this for years, right? This is an established sport. They're not messing around. They take it really seriously. So it's been nice to watch how welcoming this community has been. And community is a big part of what Zwift is all about. One of the original cornerstones of Zwift was bringing people together, exercise and health. But the thing that you and a few other folks identified very quickly was the gaming element out here. Now, there are things called power-ups. There's multiple gaming elements that we don't allow them to use in these races. Nathan, as you well know, if we started throwing out power-ups out here, it would be pretty interesting, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it would be super interesting. Now it does look like we do see, we do have and we do have power ups out here today, just so everybody knows. So it is a
Oh, we do?
full-on
Oh,
gamified. Yes, we do have power, and specifically because this day, this YANA Day, is specifically about the gaming world coming together, and
I
the whole idea
apologize.
of being you are not alone. So power ups are turned down. They will be able to grab power ups through the banners that are out on course, and so I believe they do go through the sprint banner a couple of times out on this course.
Explain what a power-up is, Nathan. What exactly are they doing when they use it? How many do they get? How does that work?
Yeah, so as far as power-ups go, you get a power-up every time that you go through a banner that is either a sprint banner, a KOM banner, or a lap banner. And a power-up then is something that gives you some sort of advantage in the game, like unto Mario Kart. But the ones that are in this game are more akin to cycling. It does look like we have a little bit of a breakaway here off the front, and we'll make sure that we catch that in the men's race. But the arrow power-up is probably the strongest one that you could possibly use. That's essentially your red turtle shell in Mario Kart, and you're able to, it doesn't take anybody out, but as far as its strength in game, as we do have an attack talking about strength off the front here from Austenfeld and Zimmerman in the men's race, but it reduces the drag on your avatar so greatly that your speed is increased for 15 seconds, and it's by far the strongest power up. There's a feather power up as well, reduces your body weight by 9 kilograms, and so you need that when you start going uphill, as watts per kilogram is what really matters when it comes to making attacks on climbs. As you can see, the red numbers, orange numbers now popping here. Stevie Young, Canyon ZCC, and it looks like Phillips going across as well, and we do see EVOQ here trying to stay involved. So interesting to see Canyon ZCC, EVOQ. They came with a plan, it looks like, to maybe work together, or at least try and break things apart early on. As far as the other power-ups go, drafting power-up would be a van. You've got a burrito power-up, which makes it so that nobody can draft on you. You also have an invisibility power-up, which makes it so that nobody can see you for 10 seconds. There's also a couple others which you essentially don't really ever want, which is experience bonuses, and you don't need those when you're racing. But that is the power-ups out on Zwift. So we do
So that really
see things
helps
getting
you
shut
understand.
down here.
Yeah, that really helps you understand the gaming element with the community element that is this platform. But one thing's for sure, you got to turn yourself into an engine when you're on that machine. So they'll all have a smart trainer at home, which is a device that connects to, it brings you into the world of Zwift. Taking a look at this group, 7.5 miles in, Nathan. This is quite a trip to the climb. No doubt these guys are making it rough on each other out here. So this would be the norm in esports as well. You never really get, as you might in a world tour race, the lulls that happen throughout 6 or 7 hours of racing at a Tour de France stage. There'll be plenty of time during that day where the riders are just pedaling along as a group, and there's no concerted massive effort being made. That's not the case out here. These guys are always on the gas, and you have to be constantly aware of these splits opening up in that group. And if you get caught on the wrong side of those splits, there are some riders that will never be able to come across. The stronger riders might be able to recover, but they're going to pay a big price for that. Basically, all of these riders start with a match book filled with matches. You choose how you burn them throughout the race, but you want to make sure you've got at least one left for the finale. There's another Texas-based rider out of Austin. That's Christy Tracy up on the front, coming back from a fractured hip. Another very strong and an early adopter of esports racing. So good to see Christy Tracy riding up in the front of the group. Krista Doble-Hickok out of Costa Mesa, California. Another rider coming back from an injury, Nathan. She crashed down under and dinged up her collarbone, I believe, a little bit. So she was already on Zwift. Fred Dreyer, I believe it was Fred Dreyer, wrote an article about her. There's a really good article and there you go. Taking a look at riders around the world here.
Angela Pitzer, who we're looking at actually for Team EVOQ right now, and it looks like Angela racing in the Prime Invitational. That's her pain cave. This is what it looks like right now for Angela, throwing down this currently 175 beats per minute, 216 watts, and that's currently the avatar that we're looking at on screen right now that's being powered by those watts. Thanks a lot for popping that over onto Twitter. If you do want to interact with us on Twitter at ZCommunityLive, you can do so, and make sure to put the hashtags for YANA in there as well. well with as well as play a part together, hashtag play a part together, hashtag YANA. So good to see Angela's hammering away, and a huge shout out to Angela as well as Reese Howell. Angela coming from the EVOQ team, and then as well as Reese Howell from the Canyon ZCC and everything Canyon. Tons of work in the background. Patrick Mahoney as well coming from the EVOQ team. So much work that they did to put together this Pro-Am Invitational on the Zwift team's side of things. Great job to them, and big shout out to their dedication to making this event happen in support of the YANA charity.
Yeah, Patrick is clearly a leader in our community, and we really do. You said it really well, Nathan. Really appreciate their efforts, because that's how we end up with these events, is people working hard, like our friends. We have friends that put on races all over the world. There's a really strong scene down in Australia as well. But it's interesting. You are not alone, and for a lot of these riders, Nathan, this is the one time every day or a few times a week that they get together and feel like they're part of a community. There's Lauren Stevens. Lauren Stevens wants to leave this community behind. She is a class act, but and certainly a gracious person. But Lauren Stevens comes to bike races to win, and that is it. It's amazing in this sport, Nathan, when you start 50 to 100 riders, how hard it is to crack the code, because the stronger a rider you are, the more of a target you have on your back. It gets harder and harder to win once people recognize that you're really good at this, because you get marked. And that's one of the real challenges that the top athletes have, is that they're marked everywhere they go. As you come into the sport, you have a small window where they might not know who you are, and when you attack, they might not chase you quite as hard as they would chase down someone like Lauren Stevens. So it's an interesting ecosystem that we have out there. Nathan, we're hanging with Lauren Stevens right now. Always good to ride along with the Dallas, Texas-based pro, Winston-Salem UCI race winner. That was
give
the
us
biggest
some.
win.
Yeah, that's an amazing background with this woman. She's been jumping out on like every Zwift race we've been broadcasting recently. It's really cool to see her really embracing the community as well. Very cool. We also do have Crystal Dobel-Hickok here. Great to see her on the Team USA here. A little bit of background on this rider, Dave. I think you'll be a lot more familiar than I.
Yeah, I was just mentioning she came from Australia this year, where she crashed and ended up with a fractured collarbone, I believe. So she jumped on Zwift. She lives in Costa Mesa, which is down in Orange County. She's famous for her friend Six Pack the Squirrel. This might be the first time that Six Pack gets mentioned on Zwift. But so she's one of these athletes that has got some character, some personality, and is really finding her rhythm in the sport. She's not a new pro. She spent her time working her way up the ranks, but now her thing is climbing, Nathan. She's been national hill climb champion in her career down there at Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs. She is without a doubt one of the best climbers in the world. And when you talk about pure climbers, this course suits her incredibly well, because she's got the ability to ride in the front group. You call a rouleur that type of rider, the riders who have the force, the grinta to get, it takes a lot of power when you're riding on these flat sections, because the riders are making it hard for the climbers, right?
Well,
the whole goal here.
Apologies, Dave. We take a quick look at what Chris has been doing with her times here in social distancing, as she's been riding out on Zwift and connecting with this community.
Hi, Krista Dobel-Hickok here. I've been embracing this time of lockdown or quarantine during the COVID-19 outbreak to extend my community. USA Cycling, Zwift, rally cycling, and everyone that enjoys riding a bike and watching others race their bikes online or in real life have been really welcoming and bonded together to provide strength to each other. So that's been really great.
Always good to see and good to hear how they're connecting. And obviously they're connecting here online right now with this USA cycling team that had jumped into the ranks here. Krista there, you can see, as well as you were mentioning Laura Stevens. We're seeing Franz as well there from Team USA, and they've made the league group. So cool to see that they obviously have the ability and have learned the game enough through this last couple of months. I mean, Lauren Stevens, seeing her so often, I remember in the Tuesday Night Volley series mentioning how she's really been getting used to with her teammates on her Tibco team, figuring out how to play the game well and train together. Obviously, it's been a learning curve, but I think they've really gotten an education, and now it looks like we might have these esports teams got their run for their money cut out for them today.
Yeah, no kidding, Nathan. There's definitely a steep learning curve out here, but I would say, right now, taking a look at this group, you can see how they whittled it down a little bit. They're, oh boy, not quite halfway in now. Talking about the women, the men started 5 minutes earlier. They're up the road. We're jumping back and forth between these different races in London right now. But Omer Shapira, Nathan, write that name down. She is absolutely the danger woman out here, the reigning Israel national road champion. She's been on the world tour circuit for the last few years, a huge talent. I mean, that woman, to tell you the truth, is a cocktail napkin with an outboard motor attached to it. When she hits the bottom of that climb, I mean, she weighs, like 10 kilo. It can make 500 watts. Good luck holding onto that wheel.
Yeah, and we're actually looking at her in the women's race right now, looking pretty comfortable at 102 beats per minute right now. So wow. I have a feeling you're correct there. When it hits the Keith Hill after party, I think it's going to be nothing but fireworks. Been pretty calm so far, but it looks like in the men's race here, things are opening up a little bit right now. We did have an attack, it looks like, from the Norwegian national champion just a moment ago. And now to the front, it does look like Alpes Phoenix now is making their way to the front there as well. If you are wondering who's all jumping into the race out here from this in real life pro team, we can give you an idea here real quickly, as Alpes Phoenix has brought a pretty stacked team actually, and it does look like we do have Philip Waldlenben.
Valsaben.
You want to help? Go ahead, Dave. You're probably on
Philip
this one way
Valsaben.
better than I am.
A super talented cyclocross pro, Philip Valsaben, the German. Louis Vervaeke is one of three Belgians on the team, as Jimmy Janssens is another. You have the Italian Christian Spargali, Peter Vokak, and Forrest de Tier. That's a very strong team, Nathan. That's an in real life team of hitters.
Now we do have Austin Fald now, though, coming from the EVOQ esports team now, making a little bit of a move. Interesting section to try and go at here, but it will be maybe a good move. We'll have to wait and see if this ends up playing out for him. God's there from draft, and it looks like McGordrick now trying to close things down at the front of the pack here. But it does look like EVOQ here showed up with a little bit of a plan as well. Waltonbed now trying to go across from Alpes and Phoenix.
Yeah, I would keep my eye on him, Nathan, for sure. Talking about Philip Valsaben, the German rider here. He's in the blue jersey just to go past that Tron bike there. Nathan, people might be wondering, why do some of the riders have glowing wheels? The Tron, we call it the Tron bike, while others don't. Have they done something right or wrong? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so a Tron bike is a bike you can earn in the game by climbing 50,000 meters, but you don't just go and climb 50,000 meters. You have to actually select the challenge. There's different challenges that you can have in game. It's on a little menu that you open up in the game, and there's different challenges. You can do a California challenge, Italy challenge. You can do the Everesting challenge. But the Everesting challenge actually ends up tricking you, and it isn't just climbing 8,000. You actually end up going to 50,000. And so once you do climb 50,000, you open up the Tron bike, and it's the Zwift concept.
Does that rider have an advantage?
Not necessarily. That's one thing that actually came out of what's been coined the Jeffers Gate. But the reality is that the Tron bike is not the fastest bike in the game. There's other bikes that you can buy with drops that are actually faster than the Tron bike. The Tron bike's just one that's gotten a lot of attention. And so, yes, the Tron bike is one of the fastest bikes in the game. But as far as the courses go, you kind of have to pick your weapon for the day. Wheels have different speeds. Frames have different speeds depending on the course as well. Some of them might be better when it comes to aerodynamics, so a flatter course. Other bikes are lighter but don't have a better aerodynamics, and some wheels are the same. So when it comes to a flatter
Nathan,
course, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, take a look at what the Phoenix boys are doing right now. They're putting the wood to them here, organizing the team on the front. Nathan, they're going to do some damage here. So the Phoenix Alpecin team on the attack. Look at some old school fury right here.
Yeah, 100%. We do see it does look like they got organized in the front. A couple of little attacks here. It's here now. It does look like trying to make a move. Not happening, though. It got shut down pretty quickly. But yeah,
did.
as far as the bikes go, though, with the climbing, the Mellensteins are really the ones that you're going to be after, the wheels, the Mellenstein wheels, which are only available by climbing the Alpe d'Huez Zwift and unlocking them on a random raffle at the top of the Alpe d'Huez Zwift, which is a replication of the in real life Alpe d'Huez. So, there's different setups. The Tron bike's not the fastest, probably the third or fourth fastest bike in the game, depending on what course that you're on.
Yeah, those drops that you talk about, that's the in-game currency that's earned with drops of sweat, to tell you the truth. Taking a look at Brian Hodges, that's a rider to watch, the American on the EVOQ team, our host club here today. He's one of the better esports riders out there. We watched last night, number one in esports. I think that's, as you said, that's constantly being updated because there's racing happening every hour of every day around the globe on Zwift right now.
Yeah, just
For
like
everybody
this is a
joining
great
us,
comparison, actually. Really good comparison that you're making there. And the crowd that we have watching today will understand that based on in-game ELO systems, so Apex, Overwatch, etc., no one's number one all the time, and it can change any moment in the day depending on all the matches that are going on. And there's kind of a similar system out there in ZwiftPower.com where at any moment of any day, somebody could do a race and it'll change depending on the ranking system that's used in ZwiftPower.com. So for those of you who are wondering, well, how do they rank and all that? It's essentially very similar to the online FPS systems that you have, a lot of the first-person shooters where you do have those ranking systems that do change after every single match at that top level. So it does change a lot, but Holden was, right around that top spot, at least was during that latest interview that he had.
Yeah, Nathan, another thing to note here for folks who are for the first time witnessing racing or esports is that cycling is a team sport. Without any question, it's a team sport, but an individual usually gets the glory, right? So it's such a unique situation there where you have riders who are asked to sacrifice for the betterment of the team, and that is represented by one rider getting on top of the podium. So you can see how this is a really tough ecosystem to survive in. But again, being a team sport, a lot of these riders will communicate using various means, but basically think something like Discord, where they'll have a channel set up with the team. I mean, I'm going to guess that so you can race by feel. That's for sure. A team like Phoenix Alpecin might be doing that, but I have a feeling that they would take advantage because they're used to racing when they're out in real life on the road. They have an earpiece in and they're listening to their director. They don't communicate with each other. I think that's worth noting, Nathan. Not every rider has the ability to talk back to every other rider. It's the director of the team that has the ability to communicate to all the riders. You would not want all of the riders talking to each other throughout the race. It would not be productive. So so the situation there is same in esports, where theoretically you've got a central office where everything runs through, and that's where team strategy and tactic is dictated from. It looks like we've got an attack in the women's race, Nathan. I'm looking.
Yeah, Helen McKay here off the front, 5.2 watts per kilogram here. Canyon SRAM Racing here, the in real life pro team now trying to get on the front and maybe make a little bit of a move now, but not going to be happening. Ione Johnson, one of the Zwift Academy finalists, now riding for Canyon ZCC, and they're making their way to the front. But here, 11 seconds. This is a real move here coming from Team Turbo. They've shown up to race out here today. Had a little chat with Leah Thorvaldsen this morning, and she said she was racing with some crazy emojis coming on through. So I think she was definitely motivating the team. They came with a plan. Helen McKay off the front, 174 beats per minute currently hammering out right now. Franz from, it looks like the USA cycling team on the front, but it's only 3.5. They do not seem willing here. There's no organization, and maybe they just believe that Helen's coming back into the fold no matter what, but at 2.7 from Polly Mason from Sarah's team, not sure that's going to be happening.
Everything changes on the climb, that's for sure, but you got to give McKay credit, building up a little bit of buffer if she can hold on. I just saw another big name that I did not notice earlier. You have got to recognize the the talent that is Anna Amalusic, who's back in that field as well, another Canyon rider. So Nathan, watch out for her a little bit later. I see Heidi Franz is moving up. This group is really dwindled down now. Only heavy hitters need apply at this point. There you go. Thanks for picking up that. That's the rider that I'm talking about. Canyon SRAM Racing is what CSR stands for. This is, as Nathan just said, this is, I think it's fair to say, one of the top 3 teams in the world today. Omer Shapira, I mentioned the Israel National Road Champion, her countrywoman and teammate, Rotem Gafanovitz. Krista Riffel is the German rider, and that's the Belarusian flag of Elena Anamusic, and then Alice Barnes, the talented Brit, on that team. So this is a team that's stacked with talent right now, Nathan. Canyon SRAM we're talking about, 23K in.
We are getting some questions coming on through here, Dave, about whether or not there is drafting in the game. And yes, there's most definitely drafting. This group would not be the way it is right now if there was not. And so just like in real life racing, there is a draft in Zwift where the riders are looking to hold on, and you get used to figuring out there's a whole way of playing Zwift that has its own specific draft, getting used to how the pixels interact with each other, and your controller is the power in your legs, and so adjusting on the fly little bits on how much power you're putting out at different times, it really becomes an art to be able to draft out on Zwift. And as you can see, though, now the riders are getting organized as Rathwell takes the pole at the front here at 5.0 watts per kilogram at about 300 watts or so, 149 beats per minute, keep making sure they're rotating through to keep that speed high, and there will not be a chase from Turbo. Turbo's just sitting in, making sure that they're not chasing things down, but holding on to 9 seconds. Helen McKay has been just demolishing herself so far to try and hold on to this gap that she's formed.
Human wattage cottage out there right now, Nathan. This is a supreme effort from Helen, the turbo rider. So if you want to talk some tactics, we can do a little bike racing 101. One thing she's doing here is helping her team in a major way because they won't have to be breaking the wind to chase her back. So a little bit, they can run the engine a little lower level and hopefully have a little more to give on the climb. And the men, Nathan, they're 17 miles in right now, so they're not all that far from hitting the bottom of the climb, which is where it all goes down. That's where you'll see the fireworks for the men and the women. And very impressive to see Helen McKay building up this advantage, trying to put some pressure on the other teams. But Nathan, everything will change once we hit that first 100 meters of the climb. It's brutally steep. I mean, it really is like trying to ride up a wall.
And this is a great point actually coming in from Quentin Milner's over on the YouTube channel. And he's saying that he thinks that Helen was making an attack in order to soften up the legs for somebody else. And that's most likely what was going on there. And we've actually seen that, I believe, in all of the races so far today, which is really giving a testament to the kind of tactics that are now in the world of Zwift racing and the way the teams have been working together so much. We did see a couple of attacks, as you did say, from Brian Hodges. Brian Hodges, more of a sprinter. I don't think Hodges, maybe there's going to be the caster's curse here, and he's going to prove me completely wrong. But I don't think that that Brian was going off the front there in order to try and get away necessarily. If it worked out, it worked out. But I think he was most likely trying to just make some of the other teams put some work in, and their big hitters for the climb weren't able to just sit in. So I think a lot of these attacks, you saw James Phillips, Stevie Young from Canyon ZCC, very much sprinters in the Canyon team, the Canyon ZCC team here. James Phillips, the UK national champion, as you can see here, of Zwift. I think the reality is that they did that in order to get some of those climbers, some of those other riders there from the other teams to put some efforts in and not just be able to sit down and wait for that climb, put some hurt in there. Christopher McGlinchey, Vitus is still here. We mentioned his name earlier. Watch out. He has been on fire on these climbing. I think Vitus, that is their strength when it comes to Zwift racing. They've been showing us that when it goes uphill, they're usually on the podium.
Watch out for Adam Zimmerman. He's racing out of Boulder, Colorado, the New York City kid who moved out to the Rocky Mountains. He's definitely a guy that when the road goes uphill, you'd be watching for. Nathan, one of the things I really love is any of the tactics that apply in real life racing also apply out here in the exact same way. So they're really, racing is racing at the end of the day. Strong team like Phoenix Alpes, and you can see them trying to organize back on the front. There's Lionel Viasen again. You mentioned the Irishman. There's that Irish flag. Nathan, a little bit earlier, we saw a blue dot up above one of the riders with what looked like a sprinter van or a moving van. That would be one of the power-ups being used. That's the drafting power-up. So basically that rider feels like they're behind a pickup truck or something for a little while there. Got a slight reprieve from having to fight the wind out here. And the virtual wind in this case is anybody can get out on Zwift and ride. You can even just do a free trial if you're wondering what it's like. I bet you'll love it if you're, especially in this time, if you're looking to stay fit or get fitter. Zwift can be an awesome way to do it. These guys are already past that phase, aren't they, Nathan? They're into the elite of the elite of ultra endurance athletes. If you can ride in this group, you are a monster. As we're seeing another small attack rolling off the front, or not even attack, just more pressure being applied here. Nathan, it starts to get a little grippy as you get closer to the bottom of the climb.
We're seeing Vidar Mail here, the Norwegian national champion, giving us a couple of little, watch out for Mail. The boy can climb. That is for sure. We're getting a lot of chatter all of a sudden. It looks like they're holding hands enough that they can type on their keyboards at this point, which is always interesting to see.
When they're down into 3.5 watts per kilo, apparently that's when they can start typing.
And now we do see Brad Gavaris here from Team Turbo up toward the front. The unplugged hammer power up we're hearing from Jonathan Levi. Jonathan is being a little snarky here. Callus Hack, there's definitely some little bit of ribbon going on here from some of the riders. Jonathan Levi, always one to have a laugh. We'll see what the laughing's like, as he's not even laughing out loud as he knows he's being heard on stream right now. We'll see if he's probably live actually too. He does stream a lot of his races as well, so we'll see if he can hold on and open the top. Not sure too much laughing's going to be happening here in just a moment. Reese Howell now coming in. He's obviously going to be in here, not racing. He's going to be the team manager for the Canyon ZCC team out there, and most likely just trying to give everybody ideas about what is happening out on course. Now, we do see in the women's race, I'm looking back a little ways, and there is something happening here. I believe we're with one of the further back groups right now, and this is one of the chase groups with Holmeston, Nugent, and then it's going to be Welter. They're also from Infinite Saurus. They actually got dropped off as Helen McKay was caught. That's what happened. So Helen McKay and a few others were caught out here with some sort of an attack that broke things apart in the women's race. So it looks like McKay suffering a little bit for those attacks that she put on. And maybe they'll put a little hurt in the legs for some of the other riders as they are climbing out into the reverse section that does go through the lap finish banner. It's not the finish banner, but it would be the lap finish banner if we were on the regular London course. But because of the Keith Hill after party, they'll be heading on over to the Surrey Hills pretty quickly here, where the men are on their way to right now.
There's Angela, who we saw in her pain cave a little bit earlier. Nathan, one of the really cool things about racing at this level is a well-organized, synced-up team of strong individuals can beat an individual who would be considered the strongest rider in the race. A well-coordinated team effort is always going to reign supreme in the sport of cycling. You do have to be at a certain level, that's for sure, as we look at Charlotte Backus, and she's found a new level, that's for sure. Backus riding up on the front. I'm just so impressed by that young rider. It's all about never giving up out here. Cycling is the easiest sport, especially when you're out there in real life, Nathan. It's so easy to quit. And these athletes that have made it to this level are the ones that refuse to quit. Like Christy Tracy, coming back from a fractured hip just a year ago. She's out here racing in this field. So there's some outstanding individuals in this women's field. There's no doubt. Krista Doble-Hickok, though, she's going to be in that conversation, Nathan. I was talking about Omer Shapira. Well, Krista is a climber on that level. These are two of the women in this field that climb like angels when the road goes uphill.
Now we are getting into that section of the course we've been talking about all day long, and it is going to be the Keith Hill after party. We're getting into the hills now at this point, and the men are just starting their climbs, and this is when we're really going to start to see the excitement in this race and when it will be decided. We're seeing an arrow power up already being blown. Actually, what is happening here? And it looks like Draft is being dropped off. It looks like Hodges as well. Brian Hodges is being dropped off. The pace is obviously really kicking up as we head into the KOM now. And you can see the top of the climb. Look at the gradient up in here in the upper right-hand corner. That you'll always see what they're experiencing from their smart trainers. are on trainers that will be giving this gradient back to them. They'll be feeling it to put the pressure onto the pedals. We do see at the front, it looks like Vitus now have an organized effort coming from, it looks like Shesk, and it's going to be I'm going to try and figure out which rider we're with here, as I do not have a last name from the rider in the game here. But one of the Vitus crew, two of the Vitus crew had an early attack. This usually does not survive on this course, but it is going to put the sting in, and I think the whole idea, look where Christopher Maglinski is sitting. Vitus are very, very organized right now. We do see it looks like Chet's going backwards. I think he had a dropout situation. Vang now countering the attack here, so it does look like a flat tire out on course for one of the Vitus riders, but it's going to be a Vitus off the front here, number 182, giving an attack 189 beats per minute, and that is softening up the legs, I believe, for the Irishman Maglinski, who's just sitting in.
Yeah, again, team tactics, Nathan, it's going to make a difference. Now, as you start a climb like this, the drafting still matters, not as much as it would when you're flying along and motoring on the flats, but it does make a difference. And now this is where the riders really need to find their rhythm. It's challenging to go from flying along at 31, 32 miles per hour on the flats to then just your body has to readjust to what is, it's like doing a neutral drop in a Dodge Dart. It is not easy on your body when you start these climbs. The bottom is particularly painful until you can find your rhythm. So let's see who's going to stand out, Nathan. Only the strong survive on the Keith Hill after party.
This is going to be Adam Kenway from Vitus Pro Cycling. And so Kenway here now 5.7 watts per kilogram. He's being the carrot to chase down in order to soften up the legs, I think, of the rest of the field. Try and get a couple of the bigger hitters to try and come across. Lionel Viasen, very big favorite on the day for this race. I did see him making his way to the front. We're back with Brad Gavaris, who's sitting in out of South Africa. Alex West, obviously always a very strong rider, also from Canyon ZC. Does look like we do have a lot of the pink and purple still in and amongst this group here, as I do see another pink and purple kit there making its way to the front. It's going to be Viasen, and then it's going to be Philip Digner here now to the front here, the German rider. This rider I've seen win on this course time and time again. That's the three bullets they have in the revolver here from Canyon ZC. Viasen, Digner there, as well as Alex West, the Kiwi. Those three are the ones to watch out for, but Alison Phoenix now to the front. It's going to be Vervac here now, the Belgian rider here. Viasen there is countryman, but not on the same team, grabbing the wheel as the In Real Life pros start to take over on the Keith Hill after party.
Yeah, and take a look at the group. You can see how it's gone single file. Everybody is pushing their chips into the middle of the table now. We are all in. So this is, you can hear the crack of the whip right now in this group. So everybody realizes the brutal reality of here we go. You better buckle up because this is going to be quite a climb. Maglinchi doing an outstanding job. The Irishman always delivers. He's outstanding here today. Bada, the Italian, is there. Nathan, positioning really is going to matter because if you look at the front of this group, back to the, I'm going to say this is about 20 riders were in the group. It's not going to be a group much longer. It's like watching a sweater unravel in front of your eyes. It's all coming apart now on the bottom part of the climb. Okay, so this is, again, you mentioned the Belgian rider. This is a strong, strong move, but this isn't a race winning move. This is going to be a setup move, I have a feeling, here for Phoenix Alpecin.
100%. We do see a setup here. It does look like for Phoenix Alpecin, they have a couple more riders. It looks like just a little ways back. And this is going to be the rider you said to watch out for, Walshman, as he makes his way to the front now.
Philip, the German, Philip from Walstaven.
Walstaven, thank you so much for the German pronunciation. As we do have, it looks like Sparagli now also making his way, the Italian. And Levi now at the back here. This is the main group. I think we have the selection has been made, and they're not calming down as far as 180 beats per minute, but I think the attacks have stopped, and you kind of just go into, all right, find the rhythm. When's the next attack's going to come? They're about at the halfway mark here in just a moment for this climb.
You don't attack this group when you feel good, Nathan. You attack this group when you think they can't respond. You have to put your foot on their throat. It's that brutal out there. But, I mean, if you think that you feel good and the time is to attack, let me tell you, there's 3 or 4 other guys that feel pretty good too. It's all relative, isn't it? But you take a look at there's 10 riders who got their tickets punched with that last surge here as we make our way up the climb. It's going to be interesting to see. Again, outstanding job here by it's an international squad, certainly. But when you talk about Phoenix Alpecin, this is a world tour team that's making us believe that they're a world tour team the way they're riding here on the front. Now, is that Lionel Viasen that we're looking at? It certainly is.
He
So
chased his countryman. I have a feeling he knows exactly what to do here. I think he was like, that's not a wheel I want to let go, I think is what Lionel was thinking right there as he came across and shut that down. Now, they're dropping like flies, though, because of the pressure that is being put on. I definitely want to check in with the women's races. They start their climb as well. We'll try and keep both up as much as possible here, and we'll just jump in back and forth between each of the races as we see the attacks and the selections being made. The men still have probably 2 or 3 minutes to climb at this point. Charlotte Backus, though, makes her way to the front of the climb here. Double Hickok there as well at the US of A. Hubach now from the Heino team. It looks like the Danish rider, one of the strongest riders we've ever seen out on Zwift amongst the women. She's starting to come across here as well. Polly Mason there from Cyrus Infinite now. That's your top 4 in the women's situation here as we do just merge in real quickly here. This is how things are going amongst the women. Now a counterattack here, Team USA from Krista as she now comes over the top for this team at 179 beats per minute, but there's a lot of climbing left. This is just the beginning, so interesting to see if she wants to try and make a run at this solo from bottom to the top.
No one trains harder than Krista Doble-Hickok, Nathan. She has been one of those incredibly dedicated athletes, especially during the COVID-19 lockdown period. She does the work. This has got to have the alarm bells ringing. Without a doubt, you don't play around with this woman. Krista Doble-Hickok off the front right now. Nathan, we're going to go back and forth between the men and the women, but right now they got a major problem on their hands. They're watching a grass fire turn into a structure fire in the women's race. This is going to be Deigner now, another one of the strong Germans here, riding for the Canyon. Boy,
ZCC.
okay,
Canyon
he's opened up a
ZCC.
gap.
Yep,
I'm
Canyon
looking
ZCC
at 4
here.
seconds. 4 seconds, the gap that he has back on that field, Nathan. That's
Morton Vang
nice
now.
gap.
Morton Vang knows this is a threat here. Callus Esports now trying to come across, and this is a climber. The Callus boys always have strong climbers now. Lionel Viasen covering that move. Look at how smart Canyon ZCC are. They're always so tactical. They said Dagner off the front, then they have Viasen cover any moves so that if he gets caught, then Lionel can go up over the top. But they just said enough is enough, and it looks like the KISS Racing team is now starting to get involved at the front, and then it's going to be Viasen now. Vang now over the top. Now Dempster here from Team Draft here trying to hang on. Looks like Alpus and Phoenix now starting to fall backwards after initial kicks here, and it's going to be Lionel Viasen up in the 9 watts per kilogram. We're into the final few K here. This is going to be it now as they make their way to the line. It looks like we're going to have a 3-up sprint perhaps. We can see in the distance now. Here comes the moves. It's going to be Canyon ZCC. Alex West now. Morton Vang 6.1. Lionel Viasen 8.1 watts per kilogram. It's going to be neck and neck for 3 Canyon ZCC riders. They can take the whole podium. Alex West now on the front. Vang trying to follow. Will he be able to do so? It looks like West is going to hold on to the wheel of his teammate Deigner. Deigner now leading things out. Here comes an arrow power up. Christopher McGlinchey waited for the perfect moment, and he had the arrow power up. Will it be the upset? Up and down the saddle. Lionel Viasen. Viasen trying to come across. Viasen's got 14 watts per kilogram with the feather power up on the climb. It's not always the arrow power up, and Viasen showing us he's got the power. Taking it over McGlinchey. Alpus and Phoenix now on the podium. 3rd place. Solid result there for Alpus and Phoenix. Now back in with the women's race, though. Amazing kick there, though, from Viasen showing us how to race.
That just makes me smile, Nathan. You witnessed the game element in Zwift. It's a community platform that has this huge gaming element. That was ideal if you wanted to showcase what Zwift was all about. Congratulations, guys. That was a great race. We got Lauren Stevens moving up onto the front now. Here we go, Nathan. This is going to be brutal. Lauren Stevens is going to be throwing a mushroom cloud up behind her as she goes nuclear at this point on the climb. So this is a woman that knows how to win. She's been doing her work on Zwift. She's definitely cracked the code out here. So watching Dallas, Texas-based Lauren Stevens, so racing for the USA team. I'm realizing now they're not racing for their trade teams today. That would explain a lot. So seeing this beautiful Assos jersey, Lauren Stevens up on the front as we take a look at the chase. But look at this. It's just looking behind them now, Nathan. It's every woman for herself at this point.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a difficult way to try and bring this back. As Stevens, I think, is full on committed, but we're only about a third of the way through the climb at this point. If they get organized behind, but I think the kind of pressure that has been put on is just there is no organization. It's just heavy mouth breathing at this point. I think everyone is just trying to hang on to get to the top. There is no organization. There's kind of something going on here with Murray from Cyrus Infinite and Hansen and Heino, but that's about it. Everything else is no man's land, no women's land, and just trying to hang on to any wheel or demolish anyone that you do come across. We do see Hansen here putting down a feather power up and trying to drop Murray off, but Lauren Stevens has absolutely shown her talent and blown things apart on this climb for Keith Hill After Party.
It was only a matter of time until Stevens had this kind of a ride in the esports platform. It's nice to see all of her hard work is paying off. She is gone right now, Nathan, pushing up to 6 watts per kilo. Stevens is a wattage cottage at this point. I mean, she has blown this race to bits. Lauren Stevens lit the fuse. She's the bomb now, Nathan. So Doble Hickok sitting in second. It looks like Rubeck is sitting in third, Murray in fourth. This change. Now, you're not going to see a lot of changes in the top 10. Riders are going to be fighting for each spot out there. The top 3 spots on the podium, though, they're being decided right now. It looks like 2 Americans, the U.S. national team here, having a red letter day as Stevens and Doble Hickok 1-2 as they make their way up to the top of Keith Hill. The after party in full effect right now for Lauren Stevens.
We do see it looks like Charlotte Back is here sitting at 4.4 watts per kilogram. Her teammate, Leah Thorvaldsen, maybe trying to get across, work together, there's a little bit of a draft on the climb. So we'll see if that can make something happen here. Barrow now from Turbo as well. A lot of Turbo girls here all in a row, it looks like. So perhaps they could maybe. 5 seconds is a lot, though, at an 8% gradient here. So it's going to be a tough time to get things back together. Polly Mason now trying to hold off that Turbo squad that's coming on, kind of like a train, as now Rathwell here from Cyrus as well, looking to hold off her teammate as well as Hansen from that Heino team. Amazing to see that Heino kind of this is interesting to see because Team Heino have been such a dominant force, and we get Team USA jumping in with Laura Stevens here and Krista Doble Hickok. They've kind of shown up and be like, look, we're here to take this top spot away from that Heino team, but maybe Hubach here, you get the thoughts here, it looks like, in Krista's head right now, thinking, I just need to match the wattages I see behind. Just hold on to this pace, make sure that Luis does not close this down, and put a lot of energy out at this point, and you do not want to see a single second come back when you get in this kind of a situation.
Yeah, Nathan, one of the things that you really, professional cyclists like Krista Doble Hickok realizes is a spot on the podium. You don't blow up your second place going for an unlikely catch for the overall win. So what you do is consolidate, settle into that rhythm, and ride your way for a silver medal. And I think that right now, with 7 seconds separating Krista from her teammate Lauren Stevens, these two have established that they will be the gold and the silver standard here today on Keith Hill. Now, that being said, behind them, there's a lot of frenetic riders chasing hard, no question, but they're going to run out of real estate very quickly. Stevens is strong and getting stronger right now. So I would not worry at all about Lauren Stevens. This is a command performance that you're looking at from the Texan. Actually, same now. Lauren Stevens coming back from an injury, but it's a much greater period of time since she started her recovery versus Krista Doble Hickok. So credit where credit is due. I mean, Krista was laying on the road in Australia just a couple months ago, and here she is right now. I get it. One of the great things about Zwift is look at the Matt Heyman story. He won Paris-Roubaix training exclusively on Beta Zwift going back to 2016. It was one of the most amazing individual rides in Paris-Roubaix history. And, we're seeing another historic ride from Lauren Stevens here today, riding up on the front. And Nathan, she's just about home. She'll see the finish arch. There it is, as a matter of fact. So let's welcome our champion, the gold standard, Winston-Salem champion, and today winning the Keith Hill After Party with panache. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your champion, Lauren Stevens. You are done and dusted. Krista Doble Hickok, she'll come through and claim the silver medal. So Nathan, they really blew this race apart. A little bit different than the men. They're coming home one at a time.
Yeah, it looks like Kristen now, 5.1 watts per kilogram, 185 per minute, beats per minute. She'll be happy to rest up and put her head across the handlebars, and most likely after that kind of effort. Now, Lee Subak here, Team Heino, taking down that next spot. Heino now with a kick, 11, 12 watts per kilogram. Trying to grab onto the wheel will be Murray with that drafting power up. It's not going to happen as Heino take down 4th place. Will be a 5th place, it looks like, for Murray from Saurus Infinite. Then it's going to be Rothwell and Mason here to the line. This is going to be for that 8th and 7th place in just a moment here. And as they make their way to the line, I do believe I might be able to grab an interview here from Lionel Viasen. I'm going to see if I can get him to jump in.
Hey, that's Olivia Berry there, the Canadian. Berry making a surge. Nice job. She'll leave it all out on the course. Nathan, while you line that up, I'll bring the women home. So Berry, I think we learned it was pronounced Berry, to tell you the truth. Still learning some things out here on this platform. Leah Thorvalson, an OG of racing out here, coming across the line. Emma Lusick right behind her. Good job, Charlotte. Backus coming through. Falk finishing now. Heidi Franz, Christy Tracy. So a couple more of the Americans. But Nathan, there is no group out there on course. Every rider is alone, right? Or maybe a couple 2-3 rider groups, but pretty much it was every woman for herself. There's a 2-rider group with Heidi Franz, and I believe this is Christy Tracy. Or no, it isn't. That's going to be Falk, the Canyon Zwift Cycling Club racer, CZCC.
Most importantly, I'm here.
I've got real quickly, guys. We do have Reese here from Canyon ZCC. Reese helped put together a lot of the Canyon participation here for the YANA event. And as the men and the women are finishing up their race, I just wanted to bring him in as Reese looked like a pretty solid effort. Were you in the team car with all these guys and giving words of encouragement as well as tactics as things played out?
Indeed, I was. I was in the team car there chatting to the guys. Actually, it was quite important on that last climb because I think we took it relatively chilled on the flatter sections, and it was quite good to see people doing different attacks off the front. But on the last climb, we knew it was going to be some serious business. So, yeah, definitely had to keep an eye on quite a few of the riders and then just provide that real-time feedback to them so they knew what was happening. But, yeah, tactics worked out pretty well in the end.
Now, was there any kind of, were you torn at all? Or were you working with both Canyon teams? That was some questions that were coming through. It was like, is it just Canyon ZCC, or are you working with all the Canyon teams? Were the Canyon teams working together at all? Like, what ended up being the situation there?
I did chat to a few of the riders on Alps and Phoenix before the race, but yeah, I didn't want to give too much away. I don't know if they were more worried than we were, so I gave them a few tips. But I think actually, by and large, they've got their own. They got their own guys who can provide feedback, and they actually did an amazing job. I thought they raced pretty well. So in the end, they didn't really need me, to be honest, the Alps and Phoenix guys. So it was really good to have them in, and I think they raced really well.
Just so everybody knows, we are in with team car with the Canyon ZCC team, just so everybody knows. In the team car, Canyon ZCC, we got our winner, Lionel Viasen. Lionel, what an amazing kick there at the end. And really, you found that feather power up. Were you slamming the handlebars at all when you found that feather power up front? Or was it kind of like, okay, cool, this is exactly what I wanted? Because a lot of times it's the arrow, but you definitely made it work for you.
I got the power up from the first banner and in the climb, just because Philippe Digna did all the job. I could sit. I didn't have to use it, so I keep it for the end and was just in case. And when I see McGlinchey coming really strong, I just hit the power up and I launched my sprint. And yeah, I was just the perfect timing together on his wheel.
As far as races go, did this feel like a fairly high level? I mean, you've been a part of a lot of Zwift races. You've won a lot of Zwift races. This looked like one of the higher efforts, more extreme efforts we've seen. Very high talent out on Zwift. Did it change things up having some of these pros in and amongst here? These spun specifically on the Keith Hill after party.
Yeah, because they have a a lot of power, of course, and on Keith Hill, it's all about the powers because it's so steep. But yeah, we have such a strong team, and we could manage our effort, and yeah, it was hard. It wasn't the hardest race, but it was a hard one, and yeah, I'm thankful from the team for this performance.
Yeah, you guys did an amazing job. It actually shined big time that your experience came through. So good job out there today. Nice job to both. And a big thank you to Reese as well for all your organization. Great job to Lionel on the win. And Reese, thanks a lot for helping put this all together.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah,
no
cheers,
problem, guys.
Nathan. Great
Cheers,
job.
guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, everybody. Back in, though, with the studio here with the man himself, Dave Toole. And Dave, what amazing racing out here today. And on the women's side, obviously, Lauren Stevens taking things down, showing that she's just a world-class talent. But then on the men's side, interesting to see the esports team getting the better of the in real life teams. And I think the reality, though, of Canyon ZCC and how long they have been taking this so incredibly seriously really shined on the men's side of things, too.
Yeah, it's been so interesting to watch the developments over the last couple of weeks, and today was the perfect example of the people that have been doing this for years have a decided advantage. They know the game better. Some of the pro athletes come in with these huge engines, and then some of the pro athletes, like Lauren Stevens, dedicate themselves to the craft and learn the game. And she's done a really good job of that. So perfect two winners to highlight what you're talking about, Nathan. Lionel Viasen is one of the top 5 esport racers of all time, in my mind. I'm recognizing the talent that he is. Lauren Stevens has been doing this for about a month and a half, but she's also, in real life, been one of the best American racers of all time. Two very classy winners. Nathan, you are not alone. I think everybody needs to remember that these days. I feel connected to this community, and it has really helped me through this whole COVID-19 disaster. So I appreciate it. Everybody needs to feel that they're part of something, and this community is more than happy to have you be joining us.
Yeah, and definitely big shout out to those that are the healthcare workers that are a part of being a part of on the front lines. The entire Revo team, definitely wanted to give them a shout out as a part of all of this, and they were a big help to getting things organized. We also had Jake Simmons, who is also a part of Team EVOQ, who's a healthcare worker. I wanted to give a shout out to him as well. Great job, in the support today as well from the Zwift community, getting involved. We saw all you out there in the viewership. Make sure to check out YANA.gg. That's where all of the efforts are happening as far as the website goes. That's the hosting site for it. You can find the charity that's being supported there as well in the efforts here with YANA, and you are not alone. There's a lot more to come all day long with YANA. It's an all-day event. We are not the only event, so make sure to go check it out. They're over on Facebook Gaming as well as Twitch, and they're going to be playing games all day long, like Zwift. Well, other games, not exactly like Zwift, but other games in order to make sure that everybody knows that you can still play together but apart. So pretty cool way to do things. Dave, thanks a lot for your time today. It was great having you on the mic as always. And to all the viewers and everybody out there in the Zwift world, ride on.